largest earthquake of this century, and it kept on shaking for almost a full minute.
I felt real scared for our lives, really, because I didn't know if it was going to keep going, and I didn't know if we were going to make it.
Then, after the rocking and rolling had knocked a few people from a sound sleep, 3 hours later, it started all over again.
Shoot, man, shoot!
Everyone expects aftershocks, but nothing like the wallop of this 6.5 magnitude quake that also buckled this mobile home park. More than 100 people arrived at area hospitals, most with minor cuts and bruises from fallen debris. And so far, only one death, a 3.5-year-old boy crushed by a fallen chimney.
I am grateful to God for sparing this community further. It may seem a strange thing to say in light of what has happened, but the loss of life could have been, I think, much greater.
The governor declared a state of emergency in 2 counties, 100 miles east of Los Angeles, mostly flat desert towns.
It's absolutely terrible. I'm still real scared.
Also hard hit, the Big Bear community, usually a tranquil winter resort.
It was really a roller, and it was even hard to stand up in the street.
Seismologists say the ground moved 18 feet in one place, a record measurement in California. And even if this wasn't the big one everyone fears, a lot of shaken residents will tell you it was big enough. Ron Allen, CBS News, Los Angeles.
And ahead on CBS This Morning, Harry Smith and Paula Zahn will talk with quake survivors and find out just how likely another major quake might be.
The Supreme Court is concluding its current session this morning, and the justices saved their most politically and emotionally charged case for last. Naturally, the issue is abortion. Law correspondent Rita Braver reports.
If you don't want to look at what abortion does, don't choose abortion.
When do we want it? Now!
The anticipation has been building for days over how the U.S. Supreme Court will rule on Pennsylvania's strict abortion law. It says that before having an abortion, any woman must wait 24 hours and get information on alternatives from her doctor.
A teenager must also bring in a parent to hear about alternatives. And in most cases, a married woman who wants an abortion must first notify her spouse.
The court is expected to uphold at least some of the Pennsylvania restrictions, but the justices could do that without actually overturning the landmark Roe v. Wade decision, which stops states from outlawing all abortions.
But realistically, I don't expect the court to overrule Roe v. Wade. And if that does not occur, there wouldn't be a constitutional basis for a ban on abortion in the states, in my judgment.
But whatever the court decides in the Pennsylvania case is bound to unleash a political firestorm and push abortion to the top of the agenda in the 1992 presidential and congressional races. Rita Braver, CBS News, Washington.
Prosecutors in New Jersey say they will file murder charges today in the kidnapping of a prominent oil company executive. His body was discovered this weekend, as Regina Blakely reports.
For 2 months, investigators had hoped to find Exxon executive Sidney Riso alive. Sunday, they confirmed that 12 hours of combing a thick, tick-infested state park in southern New Jersey led them to his shallow grave. It's believed Riso, who had a heart condition, had a heart attack just days after his April 29th abduction.
Nobody can say that a man who dies in captivity, having been abducted from his family and having been held against his will, died of natural causes.
Police arrested Arthur Seal, a former Exxon security guard, and his wife Irene, 2 weeks after they allegedly attempted to pick up ransom money in New Jersey. Both have been charged with extortion and kidnapping. Officials would not confirm if Mrs. Seal directed investigators to Riso's body.
It remains unbelievable to imagine that individuals driven solely by greed can end the life of an individual.
Riso's abduction from the driveway of his suburban New Jersey home led to the most extensive FBI investigation since Patty Hearst was kidnapped nearly 20 years ago. Authorities say they will continue to look for others who might have been involved in the Riso abduction. Meanwhile, prosecutors are expected to file murder charges against one or both of the Seals today. Regina Blakely, CBS News, Morris Township, New Jersey.
In business news, McDonnell Douglas has announced a billion-dollar deal with China. The Chinese government gave final approval to a contract for McDonnell Douglas and a Chinese company to co-produce 40 commercial jetliners. The deal involves 20 MD-80s and 20 MD-90s. The mid-range jets will be assembled in China, and some of the parts will also be made there. A bitter 20-month strike is apparently over in Ravenswood, West Virginia. Workers are returning to their jobs at the Ravenswood Aluminum Corporation. The jobs had been taken by replacement workers, but all of them have since been fired. The negotiations leading to a new contract with the United Steelworkers Union members began this spring after the company's board was shaken up and the chairman was fired. The union is claiming victory, but the company says it is on the edge of bankruptcy now. On the financial markets this morning, stock prices in London were higher in early trading. The Tokyo market fell again overnight, the Nikkei index closing at another 6-year low, losing more than 71 points. That's almost 0.5%. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average closed last week at 3282. The average lost just over 1.5 points in relatively slow trading on Friday. And trading is expected to be just about as slow this week because of the 4th of July holiday. The S&P 500 closed at 403.45 after gaining 1/3 point on Friday. The Big Board Composite Index gained a small fraction. It closed at 221.68. Advancing issues narrowly led decliners, 855 to 822. On the bond market, 30-year Treasuries yielding 7.77% late Friday. That was at a price of 102 and 18/32, unchanged on the trading day. Gold opened in London at 342.5 an ounce. That's unchanged from Friday's close in New York. Some key economic